Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome into a special edition, a spring edition, if you will, of the Tease Me with the Parlay podcast. Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking us out right before
We back.
March Madness. We back. We back. I'm Alex. I'm here with Xander. It's the original crew, and we're going to talk about college basketball. That's right. Tease Me with the Parlay podcast is here in March. It's not college football season, it's college b-ball season, but we are here. Xander, my man, we are back. What's good? How are you?
Hey, great. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for that lovely intro. It's going to be funny to see, anyone that listens how much they want to follow. At least me, someone who completely studied the entire NCAA season in the last 3 days. So I think I have a bunch of winners, obviously, but I can't wait to dive into it. The bracket looks pretty sick. Obviously, it's so fun getting that selection Sunday and getting your. I don't know about you. I still print out the paper. I like to get my fingers on the paper, fill it out. Ooh, there it
Yep.
is. There it is.
I'm an old school guy myself. As you know, I still write down in a spiral notebook my bets and my results every single day. I have a spiral notebook that is literally just pages of my betting results. So I am right there with you, pal.
Do you highlight or cross off the losers in the bracket or winners?
Wow. I am a highlight guy.
Same.
Yeah.
I love a good highlighter. Just get it out. It feels nice seeing extra color on the bracket. Yeah, I like the highlight. Move us along.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The reason why I paused is because I had to think, do I have a highlighter at my house right now? I don't know the answer to that. But yes, I'm a highlighter guy.
There we go.
Folks, if you're checking us out, we really do appreciate it. And you can follow us on Twitter at XPix, TikTok, although I don't know if TikTok is going to be around by the time you listen to this video. Based on the talk shutting down at XPix1 on TikTok. Xander, Mr. Burns, Alexander. He's very active on Twitter with XPix. He is tweeting out NBA player props on a nightly basis, and he is hitting over 56% for the season. So I remember you had a good college football season, and now allegedly you're at 56% for the NBA.
Yeah, props, that is. I just tweeted out my first bet for a game, Heat money line last night, and it lost. So I'm just gonna stick to props.
Just a one and done.
I don't know. I like what being able to win before the game's over.
Yeah.
There's just so many wacky things that happen in the NBA these days. So yeah,
Well,
that's my thoughts on it.
if you're hitting at 56% with the player props, no reason to change it up. You know, feelings on tournament time of this time of year, also just to catch up on what's been happening in the wonderful world of sports. I mean, did you want to start somewhere in terms of talking points?
I mean, I just love this. Obviously daylight savings just happened. We're getting the brackets out. People are starting to come out of the caves. This weekend is a weekend unlike any other. As I mentioned ahead, I watched a lot of Toledo men's basketball, but outside of that, most of the landscape was fairly new to me. We were able to get together as a group. I thought we caught a decent amount of conference championship weekend, so that was fun. But just this time of year, and NBA and NHL are winding down, so it's getting into playoff kind of clamps as we wind up for the playoffs. So I'm not a big baseball guy. I know you'll probably mention that as your favorite part, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, as many people probably feel a similar sentiment, I'm a huge fan of this time of year, especially this week in particular when it's literally the start of March Madness. And I know as we record this on Tuesday afternoon, we have two playing games tonight, and then we have two more playing games tomorrow. And then the main tournament starts on Thursday, which is, in my mind, to me, Thursday will always be the first round of March Madness. I know they call like this new round like the first round of March Madness, like tonight and Wednesday. But for me, March Madness starts on Thursday, and it's incredible. Like I said, a lot of people share the same feelings. When I was growing up, my mom would let me miss school, like be sick to stay home
whoa.
and watch these games. True story. It was a mayor annual tradition that I would get to watch college basketball all day in my basement Thursday and Friday. So uh, these days, these first 2 days in particular, have always had a special place in my heart, and there's not much better. Um, that first NFL wildcard weekend is pretty electric. Opening day of the NFL is pretty incredible. The first college football Saturday of the year is amazing. But there's not too many sporting events or just days in general that top Thursday and Friday of March Madness. So now we're less than 48 hours away from the first tip. My
Yeah.
excitement, my excitement is at a 10 out of 10, as it is every single year around this
I
time
mean,
of
could
year.
you imagine? I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a perfect formula. Like you and I were together last year. You set up the multiple TVs in your house, and we both watched Purdue just get shellacked and embarrassed. But could you imagine the NFL adopted this like 35-minute interval of starting and just like noon kickoff one game, 12:30 another. Then there was like a 2-hour break and then a night slate. Oh, I think that's the only possible way the NFL could get better of an already almost perfect product.
I know we talked about that not too long ago. You and I did. And I don't know about every Sunday, but maybe the first Sunday of the year, I can get behind it.
That'd be nuts.
It would be nuts.
Yeah, and obviously maybe not a late game, just like a 4-game late slate. But man, that would be cool.
And then as we record here on Tuesday afternoon, baseball officially starts tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning. There's a 2-game series in South
Who
Korea
cares?
between the Padres and the Dodgers. I'm fired up. I don't know if I'm going to wake up that early. First pitch is at 5 a.m. Central Time, but I've already placed a couple bets. And like you said, I was going to bring baseball up. So here I am. I'm definitely bringing it up.
Yeah.
We got real baseball starting. So I'm excited about that as well.
Well, your favorite team is kicking off the season. You already told me that the Dodgers are winning the World Series, so no need to even watch.
Hmm. They are my pick, folks. They are my pick. I got the Dodgers on DraftKings to win the World Series at pre-Otani signing odds. They were running a promotion after they signed Otani, and DraftKings said, "We'll give you the Dodgers at pre-Otani World Series odds." But that was before they had signed Yamamoto, and that was before they had signed Glasnow, who is pitching tomorrow on opening day as well. So, yeah, I am holding a 10-1 Los Angeles Dodgers ticket. Sue me. Feels pretty good.
That is a good bet. That's a very good bet. Had to give you it.
So I know you had sent me over this very interesting graphic today on college basketball coaches, all of the teams who made March Madness this year. This reporter went to all 68 coaches and asked them who their favorite musical artist is, and then proceeded to make a graphic with each coach, the school that they coach, and then the name of the artist or band that is their favorite. And I can't believe somebody hasn't done this before, or if they have, I wasn't made aware of it. But this is awesome. I love this.
Yeah, this guy did this last year. And then since you have 25 brackets, I immediately went and did just advance a team like in ESPN. Immediately just made a bracket of who's advancing solely off of their coach's favorite music. And there's some interesting ones in here for sure.
Props to you. I gave it a very much a surface level look. I definitely don't know all of the artists on here. And even, for example, some of the artists that I do know, like take a Marvin Gaye, for example, like I don't know like a bunch of Marvin Gaye songs. Sure, I've heard the name, but like I don't know the music. So just like stuff like that. Like I did not do like a deep dive into these artists.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Dusty May with the Rod Wave. I mean, that's just an absolute. And then Herbie from UNC has Lil Durk as his favorite artist right now. I thought that was pretty hilarious. But
Really? I missed that. That's
yeah,
great.
of course, the BYU coach Taylor Swift. I
Dude,
mean,
what's up with that? That was the
uh,
one that popped out to me out of the most. Is he trying to be funny, or is he dead ass serious?
who knows? Who knows?
Or do
And then as
Mormons
we
not
look
listen
at
to
this,
music?
yeah, I think they're just don't listen to music with curse words in it.
Okay.
So as we look at this, you'll see. I'll kind of tell you who I had advancing out of here. But that Rod Wave, I had Rod Wave beating Pearl Jam, so FAU beating UConn in the second round. But Morgan Wallen, my basic ass, taking Illinois, Morgan Wallen to the
Yeah,
Final Four out of this
sure.
bracket.
Yeah, interesting pick by Brad Underwood to go with Morgan Wallen. A really great country singer, but in his mid 20s, and you got Brad. Brad's got to be in his mid 50s. No, not hating the pick, but it just caught me off guard a little bit.
Oh, big time. This was by far the toughest bracket, the South. With you got Michael Jackson, Jimmy Buffett, Drake, our boy, obviously, Tupac,
Queen,
Eagles, Queen. Yeah,
Luke
this is an
Combs, Pearl
insane
Jam.
bracket.
Yeah, yeah. The
So
Beatles.
again, yep, Beatles in the playing Michael Jackson versus the Beatles in the playing game. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than those two names at all.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, another one seed goes down the second round. I have Queen beating the Eagles,
Okay.
and the highlight here is what did I do when had Duke and Kentucky meet because they both had Drake in the Elite Eight, and so since Drake is a noted Kentucky fan, got Kentucky with that extra push going to the Final Four on this bracket.
Yeah, I like it. My favorite team, Marquette, Shaka Smart, had Tupac. Pretty cool. I don't love that Marquette plays Western Kentucky, and Western Kentucky's head coach, his favorite artist is Jimmy Buffett, which doesn't make me feel great. It makes me feel like maybe there's a potential upset brewing once I saw that graphic, but I'm gonna put that to the side and just hope that it's my nerves talking. And John Calipari and John Shire both putting Drake as their favorite artist. I can see Calipari doing it, but John Shire took me by surprise a little bit. Like I know he's still a really young guy in his mid 30s, but still, I wouldn't have expected Shire to go with Drake as his pick.
Yeah, obviously this is like non like there's no credibility to this. We're just picking artists of favorite coaches. But yeah, I didn't want to put that in your head. I had Western Kentucky going to the Sweet 16. Jimmy Buffett carrying him a little bit.
Yeah, didn't love it.
I mean, if you're just going to be a chill coach and just putting feet in the sand, having a little bit of a nice margarita, you got no cares in the world what happens on the court.
I know, but Mr. McDermott at Creighton also picked Jimmy Buffett, and he's been a great coach. So
I saw that. The next region, the West region, was the wackiest region by far. Scott Drew sticks out. Looks like he picked a worship group as his favorite artist.
Looks like it. Yeah.
I could be dating. I don't know who Toby Mack is. Two coaches picked Toby Mack. Bryce Drew and Nate Oates.
I mean, to be fair, I also didn't know who SZA was until the Grammys a couple weeks ago. So I'm very, very out of touch these days.
That's fair. But you do have some heavy hitters. They had two Jay-Z's in here, Coldplay, Stapleton, Dave Matthews Band. And then here's where Little Dirk came into play. The first one seed that I had come out, Little Dirk carried him to a Sweet 16. But overall, I had Stapleton going to the Final Four. Clemson making a run.
Yeah, Stapleton's great, and I could see that happening. But Dave Matthews Band against Stapleton, they play that 100 times. You're probably splitting down the middle.
Yeah, there's two Dave Matthews in here too. One Jackson 5, one versus Stapleton.
Exactly. I was going to say maybe it's the DMB versus the DMB in the Elite Eight.
That's a good call. And then an equally tough, as we wrap up this very intriguing segment, the Midwest. You called it out, McDermott, Jimmy Buffett again, but we have Michael Jackson, Prince, Zach Brown Band, Tim McGraw, Earth, Wind, Fire, Jay-Z. I'd say this is 1B in tough decisions on who to advance.
Yeah, a lot of really good names on here. Rick Barnes going with Carrie Underwood. Nothing wrong with that, but I gotta say, a guy picking a woman as his favorite musical artist, I don't know. It's not weird, but it kind of is weird. I feel like I could be getting myself into some hot water with that comment, but I also kind of believe it too. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I love Casey Musgraves, but I would never say that she's like my favorite artist by any means.
Right.
It's more of I share that passion with my significant other.
Yep.
But with this one, we had our third number one seed go down before in the second round. Prince beat Zach Brown Band, and then Jimmy Buffett rose from the ashes from the other bracket and came out of this bracket with Creighton. Got a second opportunity here, Buffett. So our Final Four matchups are Illinois versus Clemson, the Orange Bowl, if you will, and then Kentucky versus Creighton. So the battle of the same colors. And then have Kentucky beating Clemson, Stapleton. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kentucky beating Clemson, Stapleton versus Drake. Drake is the king.
Drake wins the national championship. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Drake is goated for a reason. So it's not shocking. He was definitely a top 5 favorite, when you look at that FanDuel before these games played out. So yeah, he's a wagon. And as far as Jimmy Buffett rising from the ashes, come on, Burns. Rising from the ashes, really, dude. Too soon.
Sorry, in the bracket sense. The bracket sense. I know. I love the guy.
I'm just kidding. We love Jimmy Buffett.
So yeah, if you want to base your tournament off that, you're probably just as good as just picking these straight up, minus the 3 1 seeds not making it all of the weekend. But who fucking knows what could happen? Last
Outside of
5
Purdue.
years we've had. That's true. I could see Houston kind of getting an upset, but we'll see. I guess
It
we're
was
about
more
to
so
dive in
just
and
a
find out.
low hanging fruit joke on Purdue because Purdue is going to Purdue. But that's how I feel, motherfucker. All right. Well, let's dive in. That coaching segment was fun, though. I really did enjoy seeing the coach's favorite artists. Burns, had they come to you and you were a head coach in March Madness, who would you have said is your artist?
Drake, for sure. I'm a basic bitch. I'm more of a podcast guy, so when we have Spotify Wrapped, I mean, I just have such a low number compared to what I see from other people. I'm not
Yeah.
just playing music as I'm like going about my day, so my taste in music doesn't really get skewed much. I just play what I like.
Yeah. I'm
What
very,
about
very
you?
similar in that sense. My pick probably would have been Jimmy Buffett, but depending on the day that you asked me, I might have said Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs, but probably Jimmy Buffett.
Hell yeah, brother. Parrot Head Mayor.
I grew up skipping school for March Madness, and I grew up listening to Jimmy Buffett with my mom. So, what can I
Let's
say?
go. That's an
All
incredible
right.
childhood.
Yeah, it really is in Portillo's.
Oh,
So starting in with the tournament, where do you want to start here, man?
um, man, initial reaction is what I was thinking because uh, I don't really like, and snubs are kind of in there. I know St. John's and Seton Hall. Like the Big East was truly shocking. Uh, but I'm in the camp every single year when they talk about expansion. It's like, sure, last year was wacky, and we almost had a insane final with like San Diego State and Miami, or San Diego State and FAU, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I mean, it's always blue bloods. Uh, we don't need to funk you up. Don't need to fix anything that's not broken. So I just thought the Big East was pretty crazy. I didn't think the Mountain West was that superior to get double the teams. Um, and other than that, we'll talk about overrated, underrated here in a little bit. But that's my initial thoughts.
Yeah. My initial reaction, kind of to echo on what you said. I personally am not a fan of expanding the current field. I think we have enough teams in March Madness as it is. Um, I will say, I think there's probably a little bit too much of a favoritism to the Power Five schools who are average in the Power Five. And I know there's a counter argument to this, but teams like, for example, just to name a couple, like a Texas or a Michigan State this year, someone like myself who followed college basketball closely and typically does, I don't know if like Michigan State or Texas deserve to be in the tournament over like an Indiana State, for example, who did very, very well in their conference all season long. They passed the eye test. They were clearly a fun team, but you put in the mid average team from a Power Five conference instead. That would be something that I would want to take a look at. So that was kind of an initial reaction. You know, for the people that do follow the sport, they're already aware of this, but there was a lot of automatic bids this year, bid stealers, if you will. Teams like Oregon winning their conference tournament, NC State winning their conference tournament, Duquesne winning their conference tournament that took spots away from some of these teams on the bubble. So for a team like an
New
Indiana
Mexico, yeah.
State, New Mexico, right? For a team like an Indiana State or a Providence or a St. John or a Seton Hall or, whoever was close on the bubble, they really got screwed this year because some of those teams that had no chance of making the tournament ended up sneaking in because they won their conference tournament. And my last initial reaction, well, actually, two quick points. Number one, seems like the committee at college basketball got a lot of hate this year. I feel like they get hated on every year, but it feels like to me this year they got more hate than they typically do when it comes to their selections, when it comes to some of the seedings that they did throughout the bracket. So that was something that caught my attention, that maybe we need to tweak some things when it comes to the selection committee. I'm no expert in that. And then final point here, when I just look at the bracket, my first reaction was, holy shit, the East to me seems loaded with UConn, Iowa State, Illinois, and Auburn, and then San Diego State as your five. I thought the East was absolutely loaded. And personally, I don't think North Carolina should have gotten a one, especially since they closed out their conference tournament championship game with a loss against NC State. I would have given the one to Iowa State personally, but that's what happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are kind of some initial thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we've talked about this, and I've brought this up many times before. When I argue for it, only 3 teams ever have won a national title with with double-digit losses, and only one of them was more than 10 losses.
Yeah,
So it's just like cramming in a eighth place SEC school that's fucking 9-8 in the SEC is like they had a significant amount of chances. Sure, there's always going to be exceptions if you have like a player that's NBA talent or that has somehow been out for 20 plus games and they're
right,
just like an eye test different team, but
right.
that's clearly not what we're talking about here. I think there should be a cap. I think it should be 6 teams, and then if with the potential of 7 for the instance like North Carolina State uh, teams that would get in, and it wouldn't hurt the 6 at-large bids per conference, and then it would free up some conference winners. Like, there's a good chance Indiana State could have made a decent run in this tournament. Were they going to
Yeah,
win it all? Again, probably not. But with the right matchups, and some of these teams that did make it, I think that they could have made a decent run. Same with Seton Hall. St. John's obviously was getting hot at the right time.
mm-hmm.
And then you look at smaller schools, like I don't know, let's pick a random one. Toledo, who's won their 4th straight conference championship and has 0 tournament appearances to show for it. I know that's winning your games in March, but when you play a 20-game regular season conference schedule, it just feels like more of the kids are getting cheated than anything else.
Yeah, you got a lot of good teams who don't end up making the tournament because they play in a smaller conference and they don't win the conference tournament, and it's frustrating. Um, Last point I'll say that just came to my mind is, what the hell is the point of the top 25 ranking system if you're not going to put teams who were just in the top 25, for example, a South Florida, um, and just have them miss the tournament entirely? Like, that's just like complete crap, and it also doesn't make any sense. A team is not going to fall from 25, ranked 25th in the nation 2 weeks ago, hypothetically, to now being not worthy enough for an automatic tournament bid. Like, miss me with that. That is such
Yeah.
BS.
Oh, I agree with you. I think it was Patino that was like, I mean, what are we even doing with the net? You guys created the net, and you've got teams like St. John's, which is like 27th in the net, and Seton Hall, which is like 32. And there's like, what, 34 bids, uh, non qualifying bids. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? He's like, just get rid of it. I agree with that.
You
I
could always
thought,
propose.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you could always propose eliminating some of those smaller schools, like, the Charlestons or the Long Beach States or, St. Peter's. That would get so much backlash. It'll never happen. They would have to expand the field. but you could always eliminate some of those teams with some teams like a St. John's or an Indiana State if you really wanted the quality of the teams, or a Toledo if you really wanted the quality of the teams to represent the best 68 in the field, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And I'm actually for, maybe a couple more playing games. I'm okay with that type of expansion, but to get away from the 64 team bracket, that just can't happen. That just can't.
Agreed.
Anyone you think? I have a couple guys that I thought were underrated and a couple overrated. You said it. Iowa State getting lumped in that bracket of death was bullshit. They just throttled Houston. Some argue conference championships don't matter with teams that are already in, so Houston didn't need to play a full game. But I mean, they played the game like on the court. It's not played on paper, and they just hammered them. So I thought they were underrated. Duquesne being 11 was very much of a head scratcher um, of why the hell they're so high. And then you see like a uh, James Madison 30-3 team, 31-3 at a 12 seed. Definitely could have gotten up to a 10 or definitely an 11. But yeah, those are just a few that kind of jumped out. Outside of that, I thought Clemson at 6 was a little high for a team that's been doesn't have the best resume against tournament teams and bigger teams, kind of average. So, and then South Carolina, another team that outperformed. Maybe they were the number 2 ranked team when it came to luck rating on KenPom in the entire
Interesting.
362 team field. So a team that was projected to be 8th in the SEC, you're going to need some luck. Obviously some skill. It wasn't just a lucky team, but those are overrated, underrated that I thought.
Yeah, for me, real quick, I would say Auburn got ranked as a 4 seed, Kentucky as a 3 seed in this tournament. I would flip flop that, especially with the way Auburn closed the year winning the SEC tournament. They looked like an absolute freight train. So I'd put Auburn at 3, Kentucky at 4. Um, let's see, Michigan State at 9. I mean, if like my family, like on my wife's side, ends up listening to this, like, I'm sorry, it's not a personal hate against the Spartans, but this Michigan State team, 19-14 on the season, they were disgusting to watch all season long. Them as a 9 doesn't sit right with me. Dayton as a 7 seed, I saw them enough this year to know that they're not a 7 seed, but congratulations on the nice year. Texas as a 7 seed, same thoughts, just kind of a gross team that you're like, wow, they got in, but they did. Utah State versus TCU has got to be the grossest 8-9 game of all time. Like, what do you even make of that game? Utah State versus TCU, really? That's an 8-9 game? My God. Florida as a 7 seed seems a little low. I think I would have had Florida at least a 6. Or maybe a little high, depending on however you see that. But I think Florida should have been better. And yeah, we'll stop there. I think that's good.
Yeah. Just a few other things to note before we dive into bets. A couple potential matchups. You've got the recent history choke artist down here in the Midwest. Could be an Elite Eight Purdue versus Tennessee, who can get over the hump from recent history of just getting bounced very early. Also, obviously, all the storylines of UConn could potentially play 2 of the Final Four teams from last year in their first 2 of their first 3 matchups. Is it father son could potentially match up down here in the West. Bryce Drew is Scott Drew's son, right?
Not sure. Don't want to speak and
I think
sound like
that's
an
right.
idiot.
Yeah, Baylor versus Grand Canyon could be a potential shocking uh, Elite Eight matchup. But those were a few that stuck out. And then obviously the blue blood region, we could get a Duke Kentucky Elite Eight up there in the South. Say up there. I don't know why they put the South in the top right hand corner, but um, anyway, yeah, I just thought the committee did do a good job of putting like some interesting matchups there, um, for what it's worth.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll just echo it real quick. I just think the East is just an absolute gauntlet. I really, really believe that with UConn, Auburn, Illinois, and Iowa State. I just think that is an incredibly difficult bracket, and whoever comes out is really gonna, really, really, really gonna deserve that one. I think, unless one of those teams I mentioned gets absolutely stunned, like a South Dakota State beats Iowa State or something like that. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect segue. Before we fill out our own group bracket, we are going to we've got a couple best bets. Uh, I don't know how many you put together. Tried to get to four. I got to four. Um, so we'll talk about that Auburn team. Dove into that Auburn Yale game. So my first bet is actually Friday game. It's Yale with the points plus 13 and a half. Obviously, everyone and their mama is going to want to bet Auburn after what we just saw in the SEC. I did think they had a kind of an easy schedule the way it boiled out. Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama all losing. So they got to go through LSU, Mississippi State, and Florida. I believe that was the path to an SEC title.
they didn't play
But
LSU, I don't think,
uh,
but they played.
okay,
They played South
is it
Carolina, Mississippi, South
South
Carolina.
Carolina? Thank you. Yeah, so those three, and so the more I dove into this, I wanted to find a way to bet Auburn. That was my initial look, and then there's sharp money coming in on Yale, and dove into it. We saw it last year. Missouri 2 seed getting throttled by Princeton. Princeton making a run. These Ivy League guys, they're just sound basketball players. They don't turn the ball over. So number 11 in the country in turnovers for Yale. They're 13th in the country in offensive rebounds allowed. So they're not going to be allowing second chance points. And then 69th in the country. So, top 25% opposing made field goals with only 24 a game. Auburn does have, one of the best defenses in the country. Number one in opponent 2-point percentage, number two in opponent shooting percentage overall. But when you look at Yale and what it takes to be a good tournament team, they have 5 guys in double figures and 1 guy with like 8.5 points. So they're not just a one of those underdog teams that relies on one star player and everyone else to kind of show up. So all of that to be said, it's going to be Yale plus 13 and a half for me as my first bet that I like for the first 2 days.
Yeah. I respect your research. I respect the analysis. I don't think it's something I can back simply because I saw Auburn play in the SEC tournament, and that team just plays with so much energy. They clearly have a ton of confidence. Some people would say it's borderline arrogance, but that team is just a bunch of dogs. I don't know. But like I said, I genuinely respect the research and the pick. I'm not saying it's going to be wrong. As far as myself goes, starting with Thursday, yeah, I got thoughts on several of these games. So just kind of diving in, the first game on Thursday, we got Michigan State at Mississippi State. Michigan State has a very talented starting five, in my opinion. You got Tyson Walker, you got Akins, who can make shots. You got Malik Hall, shout out Aurora, Illinois, who can put the ball in the hoop. You got AJ Hogard, who's their senior leader, who's a pretty nice player over there. But all season long, I've seen a Michigan State team play slow and really go through these offensive lulls. And I guess you could say Mississippi State on the other side of things has some similarities where they're probably more of a defensive first team, things like that. But with Mississippi State, I really got to give them props for the way that they played down the stretch of the season, specifically in the SEC tournament, beating Tennessee, and they absolutely throttled Tennessee in that game. And then I felt like they were in a tough spot against Auburn, a very, very physical team. And I felt like they actually held their own. I felt like they played very, very tough and competitively, although they did end up losing the game. All this to say, I wish I wasn't fading Michigan State with my first pick. I really, truly mean that, but I am. I'm going with a team that I think is playing better basketball right now. Um, and that's really that's really about it. I like this Mississippi State team. I think they're a bunch of dogs. I think they're athletic. I think they can rebound. They got a point guard who can score with the absolute best of them. Um, Hubbard, I believe his name is, on Mississippi State. So I like Mississippi State in essentially a pick'em game. That's where I'm going to be going, and that's my first pick to talk about.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch that game, so I appreciate hearing some analysis on it. I didn't even look at it. Like you already said, Michigan State's an ugly team, and yeah, uh, we both seem to be looking at who's getting hot at the right time. So yeah, I have no problem just tailing what you have on Mississippi State. In that same region, my next game, uh, two very comparable teams and two very evenly matched when I dove into it. But I like betting. I like when you could just bet money line in the tournament and just not have to worry about spreads or anything like that. So my next one is actually going Dayton money line plus 120 over Nevada. I know that you said congrats, Dayton. Nice season. I think they got one more win in them before they eventually fall to Arizona. This Nevada team. The only downside is they kind of got fucked as the higher seed. They're in Salt Lake for this game, but luckily it's a mid-afternoon game. It's not the first game of the day, so hopefully they'll all be settled there. But listen, Dayton has they don't foul, number 3 in the entire country in free throw attempts allowed, and then number 2 in free throws made because of that. They're evenly matched, but Dayton has a huge edge in outside shooting. Nevada does not rely on the three, and Dayton has one of the best players in the entire country in Deron Holmes that I think would be the X factor, averaging over 20 a game. Just a big presence for them to get them over in a close game, but we're going to ride some plus money. Um, Nevada is a team that wants to get to the line, number 7 in free throws attempted. So I think when you meet a defense versus offensive mentality, you're gonna side on the defensive side. So we're going Dayton plus 120.
Interesting. Yeah, I would have gone the opposite, but I gotta look into it a little bit more. Dayton, Dayton, Dayton. Obi Toppin, baby.
That's right.
Um, Shit. Well, for this next one on Thursday, this was a tough one. I did end up going with South Carolina over Oregon. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I am a little nervous, a little nervy with Oregon's finish to the season by winning the Pac-12 championship. I wonder if they just got white hot and are going to continue that here in the tournament. Before that, Oregon was like on my do not bet list because of how disgusting they were all season long. So I do have to keep that in mind. I like South Carolina. They're very physical. They play good defense. They really thrive with the underdog mentality. I feel like they're going to do everything they can to manufacture a chip on their shoulder for this game on Thursday against Oregon. And ultimately, South Carolina was a very, very competitive team all season long. They beat Tennessee on the road. They beat Kentucky. They beat Florida. South Carolina is not this trash team. Neither is Oregon, clearly, if they were able to beat Arizona here in the Pac-12 champion or Pac-12 semifinal game, and they beat Colorado in the championship. But I think South Carolina was able to sustain it for a longer period of time. I do think they're the better team, so I'm going to trust myself and go with South Carolina to beat Oregon. But like I said, that was a tough one for me to identify on Thursday just for like favorite bets. I do want to add real quick. Obviously, I'm going to have more stuff going on, specifically on Thursday that we haven't touched yet. Um, did you look into McNeese versus Gonzaga at all?
Yes, I did. That's my next pick actually. What a
Okay.
great transition.
Yeah. Let's
Uh,
go.
yeah, real quick before that, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but I mean the Pac-12 just so fucking bad. They got potentially three teams in, two teams in, uh, a 11 and a 7 seed. Um, it's just year after year, these guys are so bad. The by far the worst of the Power Five conferences when it comes
And
to
Arizona.
competing for champions. Oh, and Arizona, thank you. So three teams in, potentially four in that big
Yeah.
of a conference. So yeah, good riddance to that. Good luck to Arizona in the Big 12 next year. That's going to be crazy
Mm.
for basketball. Uh, but Gonzaga McNeese, uh, this is hilarious. Um, McNeese, obviously a flashy record. They've got Will Wade, who's an incredible coach. I mean, what he's done. I mean, you and I saw McNeese State just over a year ago at Vanderbilt, and they were losing by 30 at halftime. Maybe
No,
one of the worst college teams we've ever seen.
wrong team, brother. Wrong
Oh,
team.
that wasn't? Oh, that was Morehead State. Oh, it was Morehead State. Oh man. Well, still, they got me with the the M and the S.
The hat.
Yeah, I take back the McNeese slander. But anyway, uh, what we found here is a 257th strength of schedule, 311th in conference schedule. They play one of the worst conferences in the entire country. They're a terrible free throw shooting team. Not what you want to see for an upset in March. They're below 70%. They're coming in at 69%.
Yeesh.
Gonzaga has been disrespected all year. But essentially, most of their losses came early in the season. They had a wacky road game at Kentucky on this side of the year, a rare non conference game after New Year's that
Very
they
weird.
won on the road.
Yep.
Obviously, they're battling with St. Mary's all year. They split the regular season series, lost in the championship of the WCC. Um, basically what I see is just a team that's uh, getting way too much public love, a team that is kind of way ahead of where their record shows that they are, and
Sure.
just an outsized, outclassed Gonzaga team that for the first time in probably 15 years, maybe even more, they have zero pressure in the tournament to win it all, even though they've never won it as a one of the most storied programs of the entire 2000s.
It's facts.
So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they've lost the talent. It takes talent to win national titles. But with Nemhard, Ike, the bet that I had in case McNeese gets a little feisty, I just think Gonzaga comes out. This game is also in Salt Lake, so a huge advantage. Gonzaga is going to travel very well
Yeah.
versus McNeese going across country. Tough draw for them. I have -3 first half as my favorite bet in this game that I was able to pull. Gonzaga only a 6-point favorite for the game. But like I said, I just like them to set the tone early, just kind of cash out, get us a win first half, and just forego any wackiness. And if if McNeese does muster up a way to make a run towards the end of the game.
Very good. I like it. I'm saying 3.5. Did you get three somewhere?
Yeah, I bought the hook, so it's like
Got it.
-125.
Okay. Um, quick thoughts just to kind of cap off Thursday from a handicapping standpoint. I will say I have seen a lot of love on my X timeline with Texas Tech laying the points against NC State. I personally haven't done research, dove into it. Now, I watched college ball all season long. I thought Texas Tech was I thought they were a fine team that played fairly well in the Big 12 tournament until eventually losing to Houston. Um, NC State, kind of maybe an Oregon situation here where you have the white hot team. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there for any listeners. I've seen a lot of Texas Tech love, and the people I follow on X are generally good and sharp. It's not like a bunch of clowns. So they like Texas Tech. Samford versus Kansas has been a very interesting talking point of a game from the standpoint of Kansas, a little bit banged up. Even with McCullers and Hunter Dickinson, they still weren't great this year. They weren't like a true Kansas powerhouse type team throughout most of the season. And I've just seen people talking about this game. Like, well, is Samford gonna upset Kansas? I've heard some dialogue. I just think it's interesting. I'm not saying I lean one way or the other here, but obviously I'm curious to see if Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough play in this game. And then I don't know if we're going to touch on all these games, Burns, but just real quick, the final game of Thursday is Drake versus Washington State. That is a hell
Yep.
of a freaking game to close out Thursday. The spread is
And
1.5. What were you saying?
it's in Omaha too, so a little bit of an advantage for Drake traveling
Really?
fan base. Yeah, it's in Omaha.
Whoa.
Yeah, and right now 1.5 point spread. It opened at 2.5.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Dude,
I like Drake a lot
no
in that.
no way Drake is not Drake is going to win that game.
That's right.
That's a
I
great
think so.
point. In Omaha, that place is going to be
Yeah.
rocking for Drake.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
feel bad because Washington State had a great, great second half to their season. But the party is
I
ending.
agree. Yeah. We'll kind of go through every game when we fill out the bracket, but yeah, for betting wise, yeah, I think that's good. The one thing I will say I've noticed over the years, when obviously we follow a different group of people when we talk about Twitter, X, whatever. Uh, but when you hear the figureheads on the bigger brands, I've always noticed, a 12 and 11 is one thing because those upsets happen now almost every year. Well, pretty much every year. But when we get to 13 and less, when they start piling on the same team, like what I'm seeing with Sanford, it always feels like it never happens.
Hmm.
When the collective, like they might represent what the public would do, I just feel, and that's just gut feeling wise, not saying anything that you said was wrong because Kansas is banged up. They seem vulnerable, but you don't see anyone talking about Oakland or Morehead State knocking off a hot Illinois, or St. Peter's possibly doing it again to everyone's believing Tennessee's best team ever under Rick Barnes. So it'd be interesting to see if what upsets actually happen is going to be um, one thing we're going to look at because I think Akron could actually beat Creighton once we go into that later.
All right. Hold your thoughts. We'll get into those. We'll get into the bracket here in a second. As far as Friday goes, I can kick things off for Friday. I'll put my hand up right now. When I saw the Northwestern versus FAU line come out on Sunday, Northwestern was a slight favorite and FAU was a slight dog. And me as a Northwestern guy who follows the team growing up in the area, I actually hopped on FAU right away, and the line has flipped to FAU's side. And there's actually this guy on X I follow. His name's Beeve. He's like a young clown kid, but he's entertaining. He's got a 5-unit max play on Northwestern money line against FAU, and he's smart. He's not like some dumbass capper. Like, he's goofy, but he knows ball. I'm on FAU personally. I saw Northwestern lose Ty Berry, one of their one of their leaders. I believe he's a senior, second best player on the team. He's out for the year. Northwestern's also been missing one of their big guys down low. over the last couple of games. I'm not sure if he's playing against FAU, but I've actually watched enough FAU this year to know that although they are kind of disgusting, like in a bad way, they still have John L. Davis. They're big, they're physical. They have that big Russian, Serbian center down low. They got some size to him. FAU. They're big. They're athletic. They're strong. I I like FAU. I think Northwestern was definitely a fade team towards the second half of the year, especially once they lost Ty Berry. Boo Booey, their star player, can go off for 35 any given night, but I do think FAU is the side here. I think Florida Atlantic takes down Northwestern on Friday. So I just want to put my hand up and say that I'm on FAU. Thank you.
It's very that's a very humbling approach. I appreciate that. I did see something today though. What are your thoughts though? I mean, FAU was pretty pitiful when it came to expectations this year. Obviously returning a ton of players from a Final Four team to have the season that they had, and if they weren't ranked preseason, I mean, should this team even be in the tournament? Like if they didn't make their run last year, they got knocked out in the Sweet 16. I don't know if we see this FAU team back in this tournament. So um, I'm not sure I'm ready to count out your Northwestern boys just yet. I think this is the best 8-9 matchup for sure.
It's a fair point. My counterpoint would be early in the season, they beat Loyola of Chicago, they beat Butler, they beat Texas A&M, and they beat Virginia Tech. Not saying that those teams are the greatest teams of all time, but they did win. Oh, and they beat Arizona in December.
Yeah.
So FAU, they went 14-4 in their conference this year, 25-8 overall. I think your point has some validity. Would they be in the tournament if not for last year? But I also don't think this team was like a 500 team and just won their conference tournament either. I still think they're pretty good.
Yeah, poor Peachap. I remember that game like it was yesterday. It was like November, and he's like, "Get FAU now. Get those national championship tickets now."
Yeah.
Because after they beat Arizona, they are going to be just downfalling in the odds, and they did. They did get pretty high up. I think like 18-1, but they've got to be like probably 100 plus one to win this whole thing again.
Yep.
All right. So the last Friday, the Auburn pick was the Friday game. I just wrote it down in a weird position. So my final pick is Clemson, New Mexico. Wanted to pick a side here, couldn't get on it. I think this is a really another really good matchup. Very even teams. New Mexico top young player JT Toppin found out not related to the Toppin Bros. So same last name. Yeah, but good player. And then their best player, Jalen House, is a really good guard. But Clemson big. I think so. My play on this is going to be the over 152. I think we get a lot of points. We have Clemson horrific at guarding the three, 281st in the country. We have both teams in the top 20% in field goals made per game. And they both, all four of these games, just uniquely, I didn't pick them out on purpose. I think every team of the 8 are all top 60 in the country in turnovers per game, every single team. So all 8 teams that I mentioned today do not turn the ball over. So that doesn't bode the best for a high scoring game because usually you want to push and get points off turnovers. Yeah. But both these teams aren't the best on the offensive glass, so a lot of second chance points available. I know 152 seems high, but both teams have 4 scores over double digits, and both have their fifth score is over 9 points per game. So I like the over 152 in this game.
Cool. Yeah, I think the number is a little bit high when you first look at it, and I think it might be that way for a reason, as Nick Marzano would say. So I like the thought process there. As far as Friday goes, Colgate versus Baylor. I took Baylor minus 13.5. The reason being, I saw a tweet on X saying, why are these games not being talked about as a potential upset? And Colgate versus Baylor was one of the games out of like 3 that was listed in this tweet. I clicked on the tweet, I looked at the comments, and the first 3 or 4 comments I saw was like, Baylor is going to wreck Colgate by 20 plus. This is the worst Colgate team that they've had in their little mini dynasty. Adam Trigger from Wager Talk specifically said that, which was enough for me to say, all right, Baylor it is. So I just wanted to share that with the crowd. Tail, fade, ignore. I'm on Baylor minus 13.5 against Colgate. And as far as Friday goes, oh, did I lose you? I'm not sure what's going on
Nope.
here with my computer.
I'm
Cool.
here.
All right. And then as far as Friday goes, real quick before we get into the bracket, the last game, or actually I had 2, but I'll be super quick. Longwood versus Houston, kind of another just X saw a tweet, hopped on it. One of the guy's most confident picks. I believe he did a podcast with Nadu on X. Their most confident pick was Houston first half spread, like minus 14 or minus 14.5. So I loved it. They were like, we did a podcast. We went through all the games, and the most confident pick that we loved the most is Houston first half. And I was like, say less. I'm in. So just wanted to share that. I'm on Houston laying the points first half against Longwood. And lastly, as far as bets that I personally have locked in up to this point, I am on Grand Canyon plus the points against St. Mary. I can't remember if I got 6 or 5.5, but I am on Grand Canyon. So, that's what I got.
Beware of the Jay Billis tweet yesterday. Said, I just saw Grand Canyon's plus 5.5. Vegas has no idea what they're doing. And Capper just retweeted it, LOL. For a guy to say Vegas has no idea what they're doing that's never a good sign when you think you're on the right side.
He didn't say that. Apparently the original tweet
Okay.
The original tweet had that quote wrong from Billis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's been a big turn on Billis since, as it should be since the whole Duke thing. Twitter is just not a safe place for him anymore.
Yeah, that interview with on PMT, I don't have a problem with an interview being a little bit more, what's the right word, contentious.
Yeah, contentious.
But I didn't think he was really like doing himself any favors with that interview, personally.
No, not at all.
It's kind of weird.
And as for your Longwood bet, yeah, I mean, that's another thing that people forget when they see these like 26.5 point spreads. It's like the 1 seeds do win by 40 too. Like they're not just always like, sure, it's a fat spread, but like they do be winning by a lot. That's not uncommon. So I like that. And Longwood goes into the half up 1.
That's why we do it.
Yep. I'd rather them be leading than hit some crazy buzzer beater. Cover 13.5 at a half. All right. Should we dive into this bracket, brother?
Yes, please.
Ooh. So I was, we don't have a producer or anything. Shocking. But I was thinking of what should be like our possession arrow for if we're gridlocked on a pick.
You can have
Should we just have it?
Arrow.
Should we just have a straight up possession arrow and it switches every time we're gridlocked?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, sweet. All right, so I'm sure you're Just like me as well. We're just going to work top left down and then top right.
Perfect. We are starting in the East.
Yeah, I don't think we have to dive into it. UConn over Stetson.
Shout out Mr.
That's
Marzano. He went to Stetson.
Oh, is he a Hatter?
Yep.
Okay.
Played
Well,
baseball at
maybe we.
Stetson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, looks like. Of course, we get technical difficulties here.
And then he quit
Uh,
baseball and followed Mrs. Marzano.
where did she go?
Gotta chase love, man. Gotta
Got
chase
to.
love.
It's probably for the best too. She's an absolute gem. All right. We're just going to go to ESPN since NCAA can't even produce a product for their own tournament.
Was ESPN? Did they used to have the music that went?
Yes. So,
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the ESPN News song, actually, when ESPN News used to be like Sports Center back in the day.
yeah, with that huge graphic on the left-hand side and the bottom.
Yep. Yep. Got a big L frame.
Back when sports were covered by sports.
Back when the
All right.
Expos played in
Let's try
Montreal.
this again.
Cool.
All right, so UConn advancing past Stetson. We don't have any problems there. All right.
Correcto.
So first game, we might have a different angle on FAU versus Northwestern. We already talked about this betting wise, so we don't really need to break it down. I'm okay with going with you on FAU on this one.
All right.
You want FAU as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. A popular upset pick, San Diego State and UAB. Looked into this at all?
No, sir. Not one iota.
Yeah. San Diego State, obviously from a strong Mountain West, returning national runner-up from last year. Lost a couple key players, but UAB doesn't have Jelly Walker anymore, and that's all I care about. So I like San Diego State to advance as the 5.
All right. We'll give you that. My pick would be UAB. I think UAB is the hot team. San Diego State seems a little bit sleepy right now, and I think UAB is going to move on. But possession arrow goes to you.
All right. So possession arrow has switched to Alex Mayer as we look at Auburn and Yale, which we talked about in the betting segment, but this is just to win straight up and advance on the bracket. So what do you have?
I got Auburn.
Yeah, I like Yale to cover, but Auburn, I believe, advances. BYU Duquesne.
I heard the guy on PMT. Who is that again? John Rothstein? John Goldberg?
Yeah, Rothstein.
He picked Duquesne straight up in this one. This is Alex and Xander. BYU, man, really good team at home this year. Not as good on the road. They are so reliant on their 3-point shooting. As far as Duquesne goes, I don't really know too much about them other than that they got hot in their conference tournament and, thus find themselves here at the Thursday morning game. So this game is being played in Omaha. Where's Duquesne from?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I was going to ask you that. It's like a little segment on a couple of these. No, I think it's New York or New Jersey. I think it's right there.
Okay. Okie doke. Well, they beat Dayton. They beat St. Bonnie's, and then they beat VCU just to get here.
PA,
Holy
Pittsburgh.
PA, Pittsburgh. First time in the tournament since 1977. Woo! Okay, I can't make a decision. What are you thinking?
I like the Mormons. I actually like the Mormons to make some noise, which we'll get to, but I think they just have way too many threats. I think that big guy, it's just an absolute menace in the post, kind of round, not like tall. The fat
The
guy,
um the the what is he? Muslim?
Samoan.
Samoan?
I believe so. Yeah.
We're thinking of the same guy. I know he observes Ramadan.
Oh, maybe he is. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he can you be Muslim at BYU, an all Mormon school?
That's a good question. And I'm gonna sound like an idiot.
Testing our theology here. I like BYU though, just to advance here.
You like BYU? Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna contest that one. Sounds good.
Okay. Obviously, next one, Illinois looked really impressive. Some say that they should have lost that Ohio State game if it weren't for just such terrible officiating in the Big Ten. But the game played out as it did. Shannon is a fucking animal. He's such a beast. One of the best players in the entire country. Here's our team that we saw last year, the old Moorhead State, down by 30 to Vandy.
Yes.
I'm not sure that they have what it takes to beat Illinois.
Moorhead State to beat Illinois. They're on quite the heater at the time being, but Illinois is such a damn good team. I'm gonna take Illinois.
All right, so we are legitimately 100% chalk through 6 picks for those tailing at home. But hey, this is the first round, first 6 games.
And Mayer
I think
Mayer did want to take UAB, but possession arrow.
But I think I have a feeling we're going to have our first lower seed advance here when we have Washington State versus Drake.
Fuck. I was split on this one, but then you told me the game is in Omaha. I have to take Drake. Have to. Game's in Omaha.
Omaha? I agree with you. We're going to take Drake. And then South Dakota State Jackrabbits are playing Iowa State Cyclones. Those boys up there in that whatever conference the Dakotas are in, they always seem how to fling the 3 ball, which can be tough to a team that can get in offensive spells. But do we think that South Dakota State is going to pull the upset here?
No, I got to go with Iowa State, but I wouldn't be stunned if it happens. I'll say that. And the game, once again, Omaha, which is like, okay, thank you, Iowa State, but then you match them up against South Dakota State, which is right down the road. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yep. I just think Iowa State's playing really good ball right now. So that is the first round in the East. So the West, I think we're good. We're good not putting our necks out there for the 1 seeds losing to a 16.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. And now this is the game, Mississippi State versus Michigan State.
Well, looks like the possession arrow goes to Mayer. I'll take Mississippi State.
Yeah. I'll actually let you keep the possession arrow. I mean, Michigan State is always such a conundrum because of the couple, because Tom Izzo's been in the game so long, and you're like, well, he can just get hot. It's like, well, you need more than Izzo with this team to make a deep run here. Let's move Mississippi State on. St. Mary's Grand Canyon. St. Mary's pretty dominant in the WCC this year. Grand Canyon, first ever appearance in the bracket. Uh, Obviously, an electric environment. Two West Coast teams. They're playing in Spokane, so right down the road from St. Mary's. What do you got here?
I'll take Grand Canyon, man.
Yeah, yeah. This is our first upset. I
Who do you like?
I agree. I agree. I think we need a 12. I'm not going to go with it on the Midwest side. I just think we need a 12. I like Grand Canyon to advance here.
Okay.
Next up, we have Alabama versus the College of Charleston. Uh, got roped into watching a few of these College of Charleston games, and they had to come back in a few of them. Alabama as a Ohio transfer, Mark Sears, one of the best players in the country. They push the ball, but man, do they not play defense. And College of Charleston, that's how they're going to beat you. That's how they're going to upset you, playing defense. I like a 12-13 matchup in the second round. I like College of Charleston here.
Do I still have the possession arrow?
You do.
Fuck. Okay, tell me again why you like Charleston.
I just think that when it comes to upsets and like Alabama is such a high tempo push it team, College of Charleston will want to play defense. I think if Alabama just isn't hitting, I'm not saying it's my favorite pick, but if Alabama isn't hitting, I think Charleston has a serious chance of upsetting.
Okay. Okay. And Bama, man, geez, they have really kind of slowed their roll a bit over the last couple of weeks. I gotta
Oh
say.
yeah, 11 losses on the year. I mean, you're playing in a tough conference, but still 11 losses is 11 losses. You look
All
at all
right, I'm not.
these losses to tournament teams.
I won't. I won't override the pick. I'll. Actually, fuck that. Alabama.
I was gonna say, what game are you saving that possession arrow for? I was curious. Next up, game we talked about over under. Said they're both very even when I dove into it. Clemson versus New Mexico, 6-11. Who do you like here? 2 o'clock start.
2 o'clock start in Memphis. Interessante. So, who did Clemson lose to in the ACC tournament, real quick, just so I can refresh my memory?
BC, one and done.
They lost to. Oh, that's right. They didn't even show up against BC. Weird. And
Yep.
then they're playing New Mexico, who is a very very hot team with Patino right now. I'll go New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll go New Mexico.
Yeah, it's an all-time ass backwards of where you don't want both teams. Before the tournament for New Mexico, they were 2-4 in their last 6 games, and then Clemson dropped their last 2 games in a row, and then leading up to that, they had 2 more losses in the month of February. So 2 teams that at least New Mexico found a way to win 4 in their conference tournament. Surprisingly, New Mexico played 8 neutral site games today. This year, 8-0 on neutral site games for New Mexico.
Jeez.
I like them to win as well. I like a little chaos. I like the 11 to advance.
Okay.
Next up, Baylor at Colgate, or not at, but Baylor Colgate, one of the morning games. We already talked about this betting wise. I'm in agreement with you. I think Baylor steamrolls them.
Let's go. Baylor it is.
And then here we go. I have Dayton money line, as we talked about, and then you originally like Nevada, so we know my side. What are you going to end on here?
You like Dayton because they shoot the ball well from the perimeter, is what you're telling me, and you're saying Nevada doesn't really match up well offensively.
Yeah, they're just not going to look to shoot outside as much, and Dayton has by far the best player on the court. So I think in a close game, rely on some of that experience in the big guy.
Right, that does help to get those twos when you need them. I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go with Nevada. The game's being played in Salt Lake. I will go with Nevada, but I think you have the. I think you have the mulligan or the possession arrow, I believe.
No, it's you.
No, I used mine on Alabama.
Oh yeah, you're right. All right, yeah, I'll use my possession there on Dayton. Arizona, Long Beach State, Arizona. Thanks to Purdue last year, people forget lost to a 15 seed last year, got
Yep,
bounced early. They've been skating
Princeton.
by on their Princeton, and then Princeton went on to beat Missouri. But yeah, I like Arizona to bounce back here. Uh, just good on offense and defense. I don't like that they lost to USC in the was it? No, it was right before the conference tournament. UFC is not a good team, but I'm good with riding them here.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so we're Houston over Longwood. Another really intriguing 8-9 matchup: Nebraska versus Texas A&M.
Super intriguing. I haven't really put a ton of thought into this one. But I know it's a very, very, very intriguing game where I think you have two teams right now who are playing with confidence, who are playing with swagger. Man, this one should be fun. I saw the over under was like 146 and a half. My initial gut reaction
Yeah,
was to take the over, which I'm sure that's probably the popular pick because we just saw Nebraska and A&M absolutely light it up in the on the offensive side in the conference tournament. So that's really intriguing. Damn, dude. Um, I'm kind of inclined to go with Nebraska, believe it or not.
I like forgetting Nebraska, and their point guard is just electric.
He is.
So yeah, and so let's go Nebraska. I like, and then now we enter the PMT region of death. Hilarious that this happened. But Wisconsin versus James Madison. Wisconsin, man, really proved me wrong. We deaded them earlier after they kind of screwed us over multiple times, and then have gotten hot to end the season quite a bit. Um, what do you got here?
Well, I will say I'm very, very intrigued with this JMU team. I know as you listen to PMT, people said it's probably going to be a very trendy pick to take JMU against Wisconsin. And I, it sounds like this JMU team can really put the ball in the basket from what I'm hearing. Now, I'm a little hesitant to back them because Wisconsin is playing some really, really good basketball at the moment, but holy shit, you look at this JMU team, 31-3. They beat Michigan State in their first game of the season, which was such a shocking result at the time. They've rattled off what looks like to be like 12 wins in a row. Whew, man, I got a feeling that this JMU team is like not like not a team to play with. So I kind of am inclined to go with JMU, to be honest.
Okay. Gosh, I remember that game like it was uh, decades ago. We were recording a podcast, and that was like the first game of the year. Like not even just like their first game; it was like one of the first just college basketball games in general.
I know. And
Um,
you said
JMU over Michigan State.
we haven't gotten to this game yet, but you said you think Akron's got a decent shot to win against
I
Creighton.
do. Yeah, I think so. But I don't know if JMU was tested enough. Just making it through to the Big Ten championship and just what that conference has put out. I like Wisconsin, so I'm gonna force you to decide if you want to use your possession arrow here or join me on the Wisconsin side.
Um, Well, the reason why I brought up that Akron game is they played each other in a random game on February 10th, and JMU won by 14 points, which is interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't feel like super convicted with my JMU pick, but it seems like this squad is pretty damn good. So I'll go with JMU. Wisconsin's trash.
Okay. And then here we go. The biggest villains versus the biggest sweethearts. The the Catamounts versus the Blue Devils. Vermont, very familiar here. I'll always remember Vermont upsetting Duke uh, or
Burns, is that
upsetting
who?
Kansas,
Is that who
like in
Marquette
2009.
played last year? It
Vermont,
is. It is. I couldn't
yeah,
remember. It is. The
yeah.
Catamounts.
Obviously, these boys like to shoot the three. Um, I don't know. As bad as Duke looked in their last game versus North Carolina to clinch the conference, I still think that this team is just, I think they got a little unexpected fire. I think they can just out talent. I watched that finale with Vermont. They weren't like that impressive as past year teams. I just think they're undersized. I like Duke. We're not going to go for the upset here.
I will go with Duke as well. It looks like Vermont, unbelievable record, 28-6. That's a great year. And it also looks like they've won like 19 out of their last 20 games, which is always really something else. But they are 236th in the nation in points per game. They're 268th in the nation in rebounds per game. Where their calling card is defense, where they allow
Yep.
63 points per game, which I don't really think that's the recipe to win you games in March when you are an underdog. I think you got to be more of a well, what do you think about that? Do you think it's more better to have a high flying offensive team in March to get an upset as a lower seed, or do you think it's better to be an elite defensive team?
For the upset side, I think it's high flying offense. You look at teams like Furman last year, the South Dakota State team in the past, a couple of those Missouri Valley teams that can just absolutely sling the three ball. For long run, the better teams are obviously defense for the grinded out, like huge arena games. So yeah, I think for the smaller teams, bring that power with you, that offensive power.
All right, hell yeah.
Texas Tech, NC State. This is the what have you done for me now with Texas Tech versus do we stop riding you, NC State?
No kidding, right? No freaking kidding. Um,
I think something has to be said for a run like that, and then like a four. Let's see. Yeah, they do play on Thursday, like a 4 day break versus playing every single day, knowing that you're getting up playing again. I think that something does have to be said for that.
this game is being played, like you said, on Thursday, and it's in Pittsburgh, and the game is going to be at like 9:45 p.m. tip in Pittsburgh. Got to go NC State. Got to go NC
Yep.
State. Closer team to
Yep.
home. Late tip. Gonna go with NC
Yep.
State.
I'll go with NC State too, just because of my cousin DJ Burns and and Pop Isaacs is probably I dislike him probably the most out of any player in the country.
Yeah, me either.
Kentucky, Oakland.
Kentucky versus Oakland. That's an interesting one. My University of Wisconsin Milwaukee Panthers played Oakland in the championship game of the Horizon League and just came up a little bit short. It actually was a very close and competitive game. It would have been awesome to see UWM in this game as opposed to Oakland, but so it is. Ooh, I mean, what are your thoughts? I haven't really looked into it.
Let's see, got steamrolled by Michigan State and Dayton and lost to Toledo. I'm going Kentucky.
Right. I'll
That's all
go
I need to see.
Kentucky. Kentucky athletically is just so superior.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they'll be able to keep up with their pace. Florida versus the winner of Boise and Colorado.
Well,
You were high. You were high on Florida.
yeah, yeah, I definitely was. I know they lost their 7 footer to the season. Unfortunately, he broke his leg, I believe, in the championship
Yep.
game against Auburn.
Yep.
Um, well, Boise State versus Colorado is a interesting game. I tend to think Colorado is going to beat Boise State because they have more firepower. Boise State's more of a defensive minded, kind of grinded out type team. So I tend to lean it's going to be Florida versus Colorado, is kind of how I see it. And if that's the case, holy smokes, that'll be a very, very interesting game. So I'll let you kind of take the pick here.
That might be like a 164 and a half over under for a
Exactly.
college. Like that game. Yeah, yeah, Florida loses some healthy size. I'm good with it seems like every year this may or may not be true, but one of these playing games, wins another. I like the winner of the Boise Colorado game to beat Florida.
Absolutely. Um, I can get behind that. So that's fine.
All right. Marquette, Western Kentucky. I know you're concerned. I'm picking Marquette for this round. We could talk about them as we move through the tournament, but I don't think you should feel any concern.
Yeah, I'm going with Marquette as well. So
All right, and then hopefully Purdue can get out of the first round again.
hopefully.
And then the ugly game that you talked about, Utah State TCU. It's a purplish battle, purple people leaders.
Yeah, Utah State, they're more like white and navy blue as opposed to purple.
Yeah, this one's in
Sorry.
Indianapolis.
No advantage there for the home court, really. Um I'm gonna go ahead and back my quarterback Jordan Love and take Utah State in this one.
That's same reasoning I would take. The exact same reasoning. Gonzaga, McNeese State. Um, yeah, obviously I should love in the betting segment to Gonzaga, but that was first half. As I said to the game, I could be a little concerned that McNeese keeps it close. Will Wade at the helm, but I like Gonzaga to win straight up. What about you?
Um from what I read, it seems like McNeese drew a really poor opponent for them to have upset potential. Basically, what I read was
Yeah,
out of all the teams that McNeese could have played, Gonzaga is one of the worst draws for them because they play a similar style to them, but they're just better. So I will also
yeah.
go with Gonzaga.
Okay, perfect. Next matchup, Kansas versus Sanford. All right, we did this earlier. Where's Sanford?
Sanford is located in the great state
I know where it
of
is. Can you
Ohio.
guess? Alabama.
Ohio. Alabama. Knew it was one of those states.
Unreal.
Um, unreal, dude. Unreal, dude. Sanford. Let's
29
see.
and 5.
Mm-hmm.
Anchor is their best player. That's a huge bonus.
Wow.
Um, let's see. They have wins over pretty much no one. They got beat by 50 to Purdue. Um,
Beat Belmont.
yeah, they did beat Belmont. Again, I just think this is going to be a popular upset pick, and I don't like popular upsets past 12. I like Kansas here to advance.
All right. I'll go with Kansas as well.
All right, South Carolina, Oregon. You talked about your love for South Carolina, and I have no problem backing them against this very spotty Oregon team.
Cool.
Creighton versus Akron. Okay,
Oh,
so Akron somewhat stumbled. Um, but Creighton, hasn't been like the same old Creighton teams of the past. Um, Akron can just like kind of um, mess things up for a good team like Creighton if they go cold shooting. I don't know if I'd be willing to use the possession arrow on this team, but I'm just saying in general, if you're looking for a team that could pull an upset that's below a 12, I could see Akron pulling it, but I'm good with advancing Creighton for our bracket.
Interesting. Why do you say that? Is it because they play like a defensive style of ball, or what?
Yeah, yeah, defensive style of ball. Uh, I mean, they're definitely not gonna outrun Creighton. So this is probably a 1.5 out of 10 times that they're gonna be able to beat Creighton. But yeah, they're going to muck up the middle of the lane. They're going to make their free throws. Yeah, this Enrique Freeman is very good. 13 rebounds, one of the top in the entire country. And then Ali. So they just have two big guys that are just frustrating to play. So as long as those perimeter guys can play some defense, they're not going to allow second chance points.
Interesting. And what also is interesting is that they put this damn game in Pittsburgh, where Akron is right there.
Yeah, I mean that's like a legit hour drive tops.
Right. I say we go with the Zips.
Yeah, this will be our big upset. Let's do it. Okay, game that's about to kick off. Virginia versus Colorado State, and they're gonna winner of that game plays Texas, who I think we both are just meh on this game.
I really am. I will shoot. I think I think if Virginia wins tonight, Texas beats Virginia. I think if Colorado State wins tonight, I think Colorado State advances against Texas. How about that?
Holy shit, that's the exact wording I was just about to say.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny. I agree with you 100%. So for now, we'll put Texas. Or no, for now we'll put. I think Colorado State beats Virginia. So for now, we'll put the 10 seed. Tennessee, St. Peter's, the St. Your Mama's St. Peter's that made a Elite Eight run 2 years ago. And this Tennessee team, can Rick Barnes get off the schneid? This game's in Charlotte, very close to Knoxville. Yeah, I think we just advance them. They're not going to lose first round, right?
I don't think so. We'll go Tennessee.
Yep. All right. Round of 32. Here's where we start getting into it. UConn FAU. Do they have the magic, or is this UConn team legitimately a title contender again?
I want to go with UConn in this spot.
I do too. I think their challenge lies ahead. And the next game, San Diego State, Auburn, I think we're both going to be on the same page again.
Yeah, in my bracket, I technically got UAB versus Auburn, but I will be advancing Auburn in this spot.
I will as well. So that brings us down BYU, Illinois. Yeah, I think this is a very intriguing matchup. BYU can shoot with anyone in the country. So I think the opportunity for an upset is very live here, especially on a one-day rest. So I'm actually going to go with the Storm and Mormons. I like BYU here.
Okay. I like Illinois. I think Illinois has been the more consistent team in the games in Omaha, so you're going to have more Illinois fans than BYU fans. But I don't know who has the possession arrow, but I'd be going Illinois.
It's you. It's you. All right, so now it's back to me. Drake, Iowa State. Man, two teams that are going to have plenty of fans there. Does Drake's dreams season run? I think Drake could eat this Iowa State team. Do we want to advance him? But I also man, I really like this how this Iowa State team finished their season.
I I hear you. I think Drake is capable of beating Iowa State on the right day. Will it be will it be on that particular day? Um hmm. 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 Boy, that would be a tough, tough, tough way for Iowa State's season to end. Wow.
I like Iowa State.
You do?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Were you gonna go with Drake or?
No, if you were like, Mayor, make a pick now, I would have gone Iowa State. But that's an intriguing one for sure.
Yeah. All right. North Carolina, Mississippi State. Mississippi State stays hot. They could definitely beat this North Carolina team. I think they have been getting a lot of love from the last couple weeks, but I mean, they didn't have the most complete season overall, North Carolina. Do they lose, though?
Well, the North Carolina definitely has a nice advantage with this game, from what I can tell, being played in Charlotte. Um, so they're definitely going to have the home crowd advantage. I think North Carolina is incredibly beatable. Um, I do not think they are a valid one seed. So I am tempted to look in Mississippi State's direction. Not even going to lie.
Okay. I would probably pick North Carolina here. I think they're probably going to get. I don't think they're a Final Four team, but I think they make it out of the first weekend.
I think I'm with you, especially the game being played in Charlotte. I think the matchup isn't great
Yeah.
for Mississippi
All
State.
right. Grand Canyon versus Alabama. Um, man, what do you think here? Obviously, there's a bit of a mismatch. Um, but this is March. I just don't know if Grand Canyon has enough experience. I like Nate Oates as a coach a ton, but I did like Charleston. So you tell me.
Grand Canyon versus Alabama. So I have we have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. And then I know you like Charleston. I have Bama taking care of business. I'm going to go. We'll go with Grand Canyon to advance to the Sweet 16.
I like it. I like them being the Cinderella team. That Drew family is really producing winners. Baylor, I love this Baylor team. Obviously, Ray J. Dennis leading the way. They just need to be a little bit better on defense, but I don't think New Mexico can keep up and overpower them on offense. I think Baylor advances here.
I'm going to go with New Mexico in this spot.
Oh, you're going to make me use my possession arrow. Okay. That's fine. Dayton, Arizona. I think we advanced Dayton just knowing that we are probably going to advance Arizona. Is that
Yeah,
how you feel as well? Yeah.
I do.
Yep. All right. So we take it over to the top right. The red, big red, Nebraska versus Houston. Uh, man.
Houston better dot their I's
Kelvin.
and cross their T's.
Yeah,
That's a
I
tough draw
agree.
for Houston in that second game, regardless if it's Nebraska or Texas A&M. That's a tough second round game.
I agree. Fred Hoiberg. I don't know. I think Kelvin gets it done.
Me too.
James Madison, Duke. The Dukies. I think Duke just has way too much size, way too much talent. James Madison take a bow for a year, but I like Duke here to advance.
I'll take JMU.
You have the best arrow. Do you want to use it?
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes, I will use it.
Okay. 2 12 seeds in the Sweet 16 so far. Next up, NC State, Kentucky. I've liked this Kentucky team since the new year. There's way too much talent. NC State's outclassed here. It was a nice run, but Kentucky.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Marquette versus what we think Colorado, maybe Boise State. All right. What do we think about your boys here? Basically healthy.
I think they're a very good team, but I also think Colorado would be a very dangerous team for Marquette to play. I think it would be a really good game. I'm going with Marquette in this game, but I think a lot of that pick. It's not that I don't believe it, but it's also just a lot of my heart just really wants to see him get out of the first weekend. So I'll be picking Marquette, but who do you got?
I agree. I think Marquette gets it done. Could be setting up for a special tournament run. Purdue, Utah State. Um, man, Purdue obviously second team to lose to 16. The first team, Virginia, came back and won it all the next year. Edey once again player of the year. Only a couple losses in the Big Ten. Utah State can keep that up tempo offense going as well. Do they make it out of the weekend? That Virginia team at least had some NBA players and I think a more complete team. But I still think all number one seeds make it out of the weekend.
I'm very comfortable going with Purdue in that game.
Okay. All right. So this is an interesting one. Gonzaga, Kansas. I just think Kansas is in a bad spot. I like Gonzaga playing looser. Maybe not their most talented team in the tournament in the past years, but I like Gonzaga to beat Kansas.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Kansas is just right now as we talk about the games, Kansas is not in a spot where you want to really back them at the moment. And the game's in Salt Lake, so I'll go with Gonzaga.
Okay. South Carolina, Akron. Love it. Potential Mac getting to the Sweet 16. Um, yeah, I'd probably just go with the. I don't think they have. I don't think this is one of those MAC teams. They just don't have a good enough guard play. I think Akron steam runs out here.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, and then the winner of Virginia, Colorado State versus Tennessee. Oh man, I think Tennessee outclasses whoever they play here.
So do I. I'll be going with Tennessee.
Okay. All right, up to the Sweet 16, UConn, Auburn. Going to be
So
one
they
of the
don't.
most anticipated matchups.
I know. I know this is in Boston, um, but they don't have it on the bracket for whatever reason. But I just pulled it up. South region's in Dallas. Midwest is in Detroit. West is in Los Angeles. Okay, cool. All right, so UConn versus Auburn. Holy shit, dude! This game, if it ends up happening, is going to be something else.
I agree. Bruce Pearl always has his team ready in March. Obviously made it Final Four run a couple years back. I mean, UConn and Hurley though they returned so many players from that national title team. I don't see them getting bounced by this Auburn team. I don't think Auburn is complete enough to beat UConn.
I do have Auburn bouncing UConn in this spot.
Really?
I can't ignore it. I can't ignore my feelings, and that's my feelings. I think Auburn is getting unbelievably white hot right now at the exact right time. Watch them lose to Yale, but I'm going with Auburn.
uh, okay. Uh, you know what? I'm actually okay with that. I'm okay with advancing Auburn.
Okay.
Illinois versus Iowa State. I with a couple extra days, I like Illinois. You always need a good guard, and then they have a decent team around him. But I think this Shannon could potentially have like a, I don't know, Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose type run in this tournament. I like Illinois a lot.
Yeah, I'm okay with that pick.
All right, Illinois, Auburn, and then North Carolina, Grand Canyon. We just said North Carolina wasn't a Final Four team, but I don't see how Grand Canyon continues their run. Crazier things have happened, but
It's true.
I think North
That is
Carolina.
true. St. Pete not only advanced
Exactly.
but won a Sweet 16 game.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Uh, I still like North Carolina though.
Um. Yeah. Okay.
Then Baylor, Arizona. Boy, this would be nuts if this happened. This would be an incredible matchup. I'm not sure Baylor has enough on the defensive end. They're going to need some help from Arizona, missing some shots. Caleb Love obviously won a national title. Or no, I'm sorry, lost a national title, but made a deep run 2 years ago. North Carolina. Uh, so Arizona, Caleb Love rematch against North Carolina, or can Baylor win?
I like Arizona in this spot.
I do too. Just needed to hear someone else say it. Houston, James Madison.
I think we got to go with Houston.
Yeah. All right, and here it is, the showdown. Kentucky, Marquette. I have the possession arrow. I could do something mean, but um, I think I don't know. You're always worried about a team we talked about earlier of like that just relies so heavily on offense and plays zero defense, and that's exactly what Kentucky does.
It is exactly what they do. When Kentucky is right, they're capable of scoring over 100 points. But when they are off, they really look like a very just kind of not a special team. Um, I'll let you make the call on this one. You know, we gotta keep it balanced on this show.
Yeah, and I get it, but like exactly like you said, I mean they don't need to be 100% right to beat Oakland, but after that they'll need to be right for 5 more games. Um, so I just don't think that they can afford a down game. I think Marquette with Kolek back advances to the Elite Eight.
Love that.
All right, Purdue Gonzaga. Man, this has um, this has all the like history of being good, but I just don't think this Gonzaga team is ready for Purdue
I agree with
in the
you,
tournament.
Burns. I think this is the best Purdue team we have ever gotten. Um, and I think they're gonna have a huge chip on their shoulder from last year, and I don't think they're gonna be going down in Detroit against Gonzaga. So I'll take Purdue.
And then we have an SEC matchup on the Sweet 16 side, um, where Tennessee's already beaten South Carolina, but South
They
Carolina
split.
did steal a win from Tennessee. Yep. However, Tennessee better record against top 25s. I don't know. I don't really care what Rick Barnes. I like this team. I like everything about Tennessee's team. I think it's a what we alluded to in the pregame. I think it's a who can get over the hump Elite Eight for the Final Four. I think it's Tennessee Purdue.
Me too.
All right. So for who's going to advance to the Final Four, Auburn, Illinois. I think this is where two ships collide. I think you really love this Auburn team, and I really like this Illinois team. So I think I have to use my possession arrow here.
Okay.
Is that who you're going to go with, Auburn?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Illinois Final Four, North Carolina, Arizona.
I like Arizona, especially with the game being played in LA. I don't know. I guess it's not that huge of an advantage once they're out there for a couple of days, but I just like the fact that this game is being played on the West Coast. Arizona.
I agree. Arizona. Houston, Marquette. Man.
Uh, it was a great run for Marquette, but Houston playing this game in Dallas. Houston's not unbeatable, but they are really good, especially when they have a home crowd behind them. So I'll go Houston.
Yeah. As much as I love this Marquette team and Kolick, I think I have to agree just how much will be rust. I mean, this will be his second week back playing if they make it this far, so I'd have to think the rust is kind of shaken. Yeah, let's go Houston. And then Purdue, Tennessee. Man, who do we advance to the Final Four out of these two teams that are definitely going to make it to the Elite Eight and not screw us over?
I mean, if Tennessee makes it all the way to the Elite Eight, which they definitely have a very, legit chance to do that. If they do, in fact, do that, you would think that they're going to be playing good basketball with a lot of confidence. You would think it's going to be a big Dalton Connect game. Ziegler to break down the defense. They got that lefty kind of power forward, James, or I think that's his name. Tennessee, man, they're a gritty team, good team too. Purdue, on the other hand, there's just like no answer for Zach Edey. There really isn't. You just kind of, you got to catch Purdue kind of on an off shooting night. I don't think it's going to be in this one. I'm personally picking Purdue to advance.
Okay. Well, that exact point, I mean, I don't think he'll get as many calls in this tournament, especially later, as he does in the Big Ten. And he's not going to score 50. So he's going to need some help from role players. I like Tennessee here. Um, I just think everything that you said is exactly why they're going to win and get over the hump. So, would you like to use your possession arrow, or would you like to change to the dark side?
Um, no, you can keep Tennessee.
What do you mean? You want to keep the possession arrow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Tennessee advances. I think he has an idea of who he wants in the national championship if we don't agree. And so we've got Illinois versus Arizona in Glendale, April 6th.
Wowza. In Glendale,
Yep.
where Arizona in the same state. Okay. Um, well, in our bracket, Illinois versus Arizona, I would definitely go with Arizona. In my personal bracket, I have Auburn versus Arizona in this spot. And I am going to go with. I'll stick with Arizona.
Love it. Houston versus Tennessee. Um, I personally think this is where it ends for Rick Barnes. What a hell of a run. Finally proved people you can get to the Final Four. Just think Kelvin Sampson's been knocking on the door. This is one of his better teams that he's had. Just more complete. Last year, I think they had a little bit of blemishes, and then if I'm not mistaken, they just fell apart at the free throw line. So I like Houston to play Arizona in the final.
Okay. I'm cool with that pick.
All right. Possession arrows to you. I still want to hear you out, but this is essentially the floor is yours. Pick our national championship.
Um, I got a future on Arizona, so I'll go with Arizona. How about that?
I think that's the easiest way. I think that is how about a nice 158. Nice game. Yeah. So how do we feel about that? We looked kind of chalky in the beginning, but we have a 3, a 2, a 1, and a 2 in the final four.
A 3, a 2, a 1, and a 2. Well, you certainly could do worse.
Yeah. Could pull a Shannon Sharp and just pick all ones in every bracket.
Exactly. We did not do that. So shout out to us.
Couple 12s going to the Sweet 16, a 14 beating a 3. I think that's a pretty good bracket. Um, Obviously lower seeds are going to win. Not very crazy, but yeah, I think that went really well.
Picking where. That's the hard part. You know they're going to win, but what games?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, man, that was good. I like that. I think that's going to win us the million for the perfect bracket, Mayor. And recap the bets that you had from earlier. You have those in front of you?
Yes. To recap the bets that I had, if you made it this far, God bless you. I'm on Mississippi State to beat Michigan State straight up. Straight up. I'm on South Carolina to take care of business against Oregon. I personally am on FAU to take down Northwestern. I'm on Baylor minus 13.5 against Colgate. And lastly, as far as bets that I have actually locked in, I am on Houston minus 14.5 for the first half against Longwood. And second, lastly, I'm on Grand Canyon plus the points against St. Mary's.
Beautiful. Thursday, Dayton money line and Gonzaga -3 first half. And then Friday on plus 13.5 and Clemson, New Mexico over 152. You mentioned you had an Arizona future. The only long shot future that kind of sticks out to me, and it's not really long. It's a 3 seed. I like just the like we kind of talked about the ceiling of Kentucky. There's no one in the country that can outscore them. So if they get on a heater, someone else gets upset. I wouldn't mind having a Kentucky ticket. I think they're 18-1.
I am not sure what they are.
22-1.
I don't mind that either. Like you said, the upside on that team is incredible. You know, Reed Shepard at the point is just an amazing player. And they got some athletic guards and small forwards who really can put the ball in the bucket and just athletic freaks. Futures that I've been on for quite some time now, just to share. I am on Illinois at 52-1. I am on Marquette at 28-1. And Arizona at 14-1. Those were bets that I placed, like I said, back in February. But yeah, I do have those 3 teams for future plays.
Let's go. And if you want to believe that James Madison or Grand Canyon can get to the Sweet 16, where we advance them, James Madison plus 750 and Grand Canyon plus 600 just to reach the Sweet 16.
Wow. Might have to place a small wager on each of those teams for fun. And then I guess the last thing I would add from a gambling standpoint is clearly I'm high on this Auburn team, so I will have to place a bet on them to either make the Final Four or win the national championship. It's not going to be easy in the region that they're in, but sometimes you just got to go with your gut. So,
yeah. I mean, they're actually higher than Kentucky. They're at 17-1 thanks to that SEC tournament. kind of vaulted them up there as a pretty high tournament odds.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then one other that I wanted to ask you about as we wrap up here, the other boom or bust, um, Baylor 30-1. Feel like they're
Don't
not
hate.
in the strongest bracket,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, but they're very challenged defensively. So
I don't hate it.
okay,
I definitely don't hate it. They got NBA talent.
yeah, exactly. Yep. So all right, I think that covers our first ever Tease Me with the Parlay tournament breakdown and bracket. Technically, we did two brackets with the music bracket in there, but it is bracket season. For all those that are listening, hope you win all of your bets. Mayor, any final words?
Not really. Yeah. Thanks for giving us a listen, everyone, and enjoy the games. And this was a lot of fun. So, yeah, enjoy.
Bye.